Okay. Um, Moving on to the health and wellness, and this will be a little bit quicker. So Corey and I took on the task um, of creating a wellness youth advisory board, so that the middle school students at Anna Yates and the high school students could envision what does a wellness center look like? How do they envision a wellness center? What does it mean to have a space that holistically supports them as a student? And so we've been working with 8 to 10 youth. It fluctuates a little bit. And for the past 4 to 5 months, they've been researching models of wellness centers around the Bay, and really doing some visioning work on what they want to see on their campus. And then they even met with the wellness center at Emery Secondary, and the middle schools were blown away because they were like, this exists? This is amazing. So just getting them familiar with the services that exist already. And so because a lot of folks, because the middle schoolers don't really have a relationship with wellness yet, a lot of what we've been doing so far is just orientating them to the concept of wellness and holistic health. We've looked at models at Rise. We've looked at models on the internet of lifelong centers, and they actually are drawing out what they want to see a wellness center to look like. What's interesting is that they're thinking big, and the wellness center is going to be very small. And they're thinking about things like a meditation room, maybe a boxing bag when they're upset. Like, can they have a dance? Can they have dance? Is there like a place where they can just sit and lay down when they're tired? Like, these are the things that they're thinking of, right? Like, really creating a healthy school climate. And if you look at private schools, with the top private schools, they all have this, right? This idea of like, because you spend most of your time at school, so the idea of school being a second home and how to create that space. And so they're working on that. We're also going to have a summer intensive for a week where we're going to be visiting wellness centers, and they're going to be visiting wellness centers. They'll create a report on what they've learned, what they want to see, and then they will also develop a survey so that when the school year starts next year, they'll be ready to survey the student body on their ideas and then be able to present it back to wellness and the ECCL to see what they want to see what is actually possible. And they're already challenging the wellness center to think out the box a little bit. And so it's so far so good. And again, those are 7th and 8th graders, and then 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. And the other cool dynamic about the Wellness Youth Advisory Board is that I've seen it's an opportunity for the high school students to step up into leadership in a different way. They feel very like, okay, middle schoolers, we're going to help you along the way, and we're going to help develop your leadership. And it's a time for them to put all of the things that they're learning into action, and they really appreciate that space. So that is a little bit about the Wellness Center. And the work that we're doing. Again, as Corey said before, there is not a dedicated fund for this work to continue, or a point person for that work to continue, or Youth Together's work to continue. But hopefully we can all figure that out.
Hi, I'm Lauren LaPlante, the school psychologist, and we've been partnering with Celeste and Corey on the Youth Advisory Board. And as someone who's been working on the School-Based Health Center project for the last 7 years, I can really speak to the importance of this work and how we've been, with all of our collaborators with California School Health Alliance and UCSF, the importance of this youth engagement piece is something that has been drilled into us, but we haven't had the capacity to do it until now. And what we've been able to do with this new relationship has been really amazing already. And it's a different thing for adults to be sitting in a room making all the decisions than to bring the youth in a meaningful way. And so when you said we've been challenged, that's true. And we've learned a lot about how we can do this work and how we can really have our school-based health center be successful. Because if the youth are not meaningfully involved throughout the entire process, they're not going to use it. And they are our key people that we're trying to serve. And so we need to figure out how they can be meaningfully involved. And it really takes both kind of the on-the-ground legwork that Corey and Celeste have been able to do, and the integration with the district. And we've learned some tough lessons about, trying to plan field trips, and contractors can't drive vans, and, all of these things where, like, if we didn't have these relationships that we've built, we would not be able to move forward. And so I also wanted to speak a little bit to data, because I've been coordinating the California Healthy Kids Survey for the last 6 years. And we've consistently had very low student engagement and opportunities for leadership in this district. And I really expect that with this work, that as we continue on a 2-year administration cycle, that we will see changes. But compared to surrounding districts, that's always been an area that we've been really low in. And we also do track school climate data as well through the CHIC survey. But I just really think it's important that we both continue this work, and seeing how much is involved in it, up front, is a lot of work. And then the integration piece where the sites are really supporting it, because there's some things that as outside contractors are really hard to get done, whereas having relationships with teachers, with site staff, we can really make a lot of things happen together. So I just really want to speak that this work needs to continue. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for either of us about the Youth Advisory Board?
Anybody? I was just gonna say, well, you can go ahead.
No,
I can
I have a question.
go for it.
How many youth are on your youth advisory board?
8 to 10.
She like, something else I can get on.
No.
She's like, no. Think she's stretched already, huh?
Yes.
She's at capacity, I understand. But I just had a question in terms of from what Ms. LaPlante just mentioned. It seems like it's been more about trying to find a way in and build those connections in order to kind of effectively do what you've done over the last however many months or few years. Is that basically how things have been kind of organically growing, or since not having, say, necessarily a point person specifically?
So I'd say it was intentionally organic, meaning that building relationships with people is organic, but I was very intentional, my first 3 to 4 months, to get to know everyone in the district that I could, to build relationships with teachers, which meant, doing classroom workshops for teachers. I didn't mention that, but we did over 35 workshops out in classrooms this year, right? And just being on different committees and always just being a helping hand to administration as needed has been a big part of navigating in when there's a lack of structure.
Yeah.
So really relying on relationships.
That's helpful. And in terms of the health and wellness youth advisory, in terms of recommendations, you said already there have been ways that you've gained information, and you have a routine, you have the relationship to kind of routinely provide that input to those who are crafting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
She
one
has
other.
monthly.
Oh, sorry.
She has weekly meetings with Ms. Dunn.
Okay.
Although I would say that one of the next levels of this work is figuring out how the adult decision makers and the students are coming together regularly. One of my fears is if we're able to keep going with the Youth Advisory Board, that they're going to be meeting over here,
Right.
totally
Not
fired up
connected.
with a lot of ideas and recommendations, and then the adults are going to be meeting in the middle of the day making decisions, and it's a miss.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that is going to be such a beautiful thing to figure out is how do we bring those bodies together so it really is a partnership and not just even recommendations, but ongoing dialogue, so adults and students can push each other on their ideas and come to something together.
No, that's a great point. And in terms of, and now I'm going back to your first one, in terms of working with the architects,
Yeah.
how have, I know you've been here long enough to know so many, you've had the history. So how much has that been the connections that you've been able to make and bring it, for them to commit to that is really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I would say with architects, with the teachers, with other staff, my experience is that people are really passionate about VCCL. They're totally done in and are, stretched to capacity, but they're really passionate. And so people, where they can be generous with their time, they are. So Mark has been so generous, and Ms. Turner so generous, like being there, once or twice a week with us to do it. And so, yeah, some of that's relationship building, but also it's not, on one level, it's not a hard sell because people are passionate. On the other hand, it is a bit of a hard sell because there's also this feeling of, well, if we do all this work with the kids, are the kids really going to see it actualized? And that's a fear I carry, and I know staff that I've spoken to carry also. So
No, it's
it's
great.
both. There's a tension there.
That was just my spin of
Yeah,
questions
that's
right there. Any other comments from board members?
Well, my question and comment is really
And I know they're going to do a summary too. So
okay for staff. It's not for these two individuals. I guess my question for staff, seeing that we're in the middle of budget adopting a budget, I would like to, and we'll be discussing this tomorrow. For our discussions tomorrow, I would like to know, how are we funding these two programs, and what's the recommendation of staff to continue this relationship, and if so, how are we going to fund it? So we can talk about that tomorrow, but I just want to put that out there for tomorrow.
Yes, I think that's an important question, appropriate question. I think that after we present the tentative budget tomorrow evening, I think that staff would be prepared to respond to that.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I don't know if this is the moment, but I do have some thoughts and suggestions to plant in the power of the bees' minds about this. And also, I just want to share with you, people are, like staff is making an effort. So I know Ms. Dunn is really committed to creating a coordinator position for the Health and Wellness Youth Advisory Board, and she's been writing it into grants. And there's no funds for it yet,
Right.
but how can we support her in that?
Yeah.
Are there ECCL funds that could be used for the next year or two, or match what she, is able to drum up? So that's one effort. As far as the gardening project goes, I think it would be amazing if we could figure out an internship for these young men to keep working with Mark. Not,
Right.
I'm just kind of setting him up for that, but they would love to keep doing that work. I think also the gardener, Miss Leslie, has barely had a contract this year, and if there was a way to actually flesh out her contract, so she was taking over what I was doing, and she could oversee the gardening project, which makes sense, because she's the gardener, and do more gardening with them, and work with the other architects and the contractors, that's a very holistic next step, because it's from within, and it's building off of the partnerships that are there. I think Ms. Turner would be happy to play a role in that. She just can't hold it by herself. And then I spoke to the ED at Youth Together this morning, and my understanding from that conversation is that there is usually after the first year that a school funds Youth Together does a lot of fundraising to be on sites, kind of autonomously. And she has not been able to secure those funds for next year, but they are committed to minimally being on the campus part-time. And so I would love us to figure out how to match, they're going to figure out from general funds if we can match that, so we could have Celeste here full-time, because I really don't want Emeryville to lose Celeste
Well,
or Youth Together. But I also just want to really make it clear that it's not a done deal. That the way it works is that the school leadership really, in partnership with Youth Together, has to come up with this contract and agreement. And I know that there's a lot of vested interest on the board side to have Youth Together keep doing the LCAP work. So if there's a way for all the leadership to work together to make sure Youth Together can be here next year, I think would be really valuable.
Okay, well,
Thanks for that summary.
yeah.
I just wanted to, also, she's not here, but to thank Miss Brenda, because we wouldn't have been able to navigate the district without her. Youth Together would not have. And at the beginning of the year, she was like, I'm going to take you under my wing. And she introduces me to everyone. She cuts all the red tape. And so she and Miss Allen have really welcomed us into Emery. And so I just wanted to have the time to thank her.
That's great.
Great.
So just my final thing is I will be doing a final report. And if any of you want to sit with me as I exit to pick my brain or think thoughts, I'm totally available for that. I really feel like there's so much potential. Like, it's such a sweet, small district, right? Magic can happen here. So I'm available to have those conversations. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Corey, and thank you, Celeste. You guys have been provided a lot of service to our district, and our students are far ahead because of you both. So really appreciate everything you've done, really, truly. But
Thank
before
you
you
both.
go, I do want to ask the public, because I forget about the public. But any board comments, questions? Is there any members of the public that wish to address regarding this particular item? Because I do forget. I don't want to forget. Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
too.
evening.
Good job.
Good evening. I think the presentation was excellent. It really shows the experience you get when you step up to the plate. And you know, one of the real problems here is that nobody knows what's going on here. I mean, if you just took the video of what they're doing here and you went out in the community and you talk to people, you're going to get people that are going to be interested in participating in this. And I really want to see the district start making direct contact with businesses and people in the city so that we can exchange this information. You know, I think one of the reasons I applied for the board is, you know, you have to start looking at the whole city now that you're doing the ECCL, because it's really a whole city effort. So you want to look at the resources in the city that can contribute to doing this. So that's one of the reasons why it's a good thing. So I don't think you have to worry. We'll get you the money, you know.
Okay.
I mean, I represent property owners who don't know anything about what's going on here. They have never got one thing about ECCL, and they're paying for it.
Right.
You know, that's not acceptable, and we're going to fix that. So thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks. Any other public comment? All right. Well, we are now concluded with that particular discussion action item. And as Member Dwin so rightly proposed, having a follow-up discussion following our meeting tomorrow, which I think is most appropriate. And thank you for bringing that suggestion out. We'll now move on to item 2.